I'm profoundly grateful for the privilege and the honor to share with you some thoughts about the human condition and how psychology can contribute to its betterment. I regret that I cannot be at the Congress to meet with you personally. My talk addresses the agentic perspective on which social cognitive theory is founded. I do so in the context of the daunting challenges by the transformative changes in this millennium. To be an agent is to influence intentionally one's life conditions. In this view, people have a hand in shaping the course their lives take. Among the mechanisms of human agency, none is more central or pervasive than people's beliefs in their causative capabilities. I call this belief self-efficacy. This core belief is the foundation of human aspiration, motivation, and accomplishments. Unless people believe that they can produce desired effects by their actions, they have no incentive to act or to persevere in the face of difficulties, whatever other factors may serve as guides and motivators. They are rooted in the core belief that one has the power to effect changes. This self-belief works through cognitive, motivational, affective, and decisional processes. Efficacy beliefs affect whether individuals think optimistically or pessimistically, in self-enhancing or self-debilitating ways. Such beliefs affect people's goals and aspirations, how well they motivate themselves, and their perseverance in the face of difficulties and adversity. Efficacy beliefs also shape people's outcome expectations, whether they expect their efforts to produce favorable outcomes or adverse ones. In addition, efficacy beliefs determine how opportunities and impediments are viewed. People of low efficacy are easily convinced of the futility of effort, and in the face of difficulties, they quickly give up. Those of high efficacy view impediments as surmountable by development of their competencies and perseverant effort. They stay the course in the face of difficulties. Moreover, efficacy beliefs affect the quality of people's emotional life and their vulnerability to stress and depression. And last but not least, efficacy beliefs determine the choices people make at critical decisional points. A factor that influences choice behavior can profoundly affect the courses that lives take and what people become. In the book, Self-Efficacy, the Exercise of Control, I document the centrality of control beliefs in people's lives. I specify how to build resilient individual and collective efficacy. I verify the mechanisms through which it works, and review how this large body of knowledge informs diverse applications for individual and social change. Human well-being and accomplishments require an optimistic and resilient efficacy, and this is because the usual daily realities are strewn with difficulties. They're full of frustrations, conflicts, impediments, adversities, failures, and inequities. To succeed in tough undertakings, one cannot afford to be a stark realist. Realists forego formidable activities, are easily discouraged by failures should they try, or they become cynics about the prospect of effecting changes. I'm not advocating a Pollyannish mindset. I believe, therefore I achieve. The functional belief system in difficult undertakings combines realism about tough odds, but optimism that one can beat those odds through self-development and perseverant effort. Virtually every innovation that has touched our lives was repeatedly rejected at the outset. In his delightful book titled Rejection, John White reports that the main characteristics of people who achieve success in challenging pursuits is an unshakable sense of efficacy and a firm belief in the worth of what they are doing. Resilient efficacy provides the needed staying power. George Bernard Shaw put it well when he said that reasonable people adapt to the world, unreasonable ones try to change it. Human progress depends on the unreasonable ones. Social cognitive theory conceptualizes the causal structure as triadic reciprocal causation. Human functioning is a product of the reciprocal interplay of intrapersonal determinants that encompasses biological endowment, cognitive and emotional aspects, and in one's intrapsychic life. The second contributor is the nature of the behavior that is performed. And the third contributor is the profusion of environmental influences. Because personal influence is an interacting determinant in the causal structure, human agency is not incompatible with the principle of determinism. Individuals are co-authors in this causal mix. The environment is not a monolithic force. Social cognitive theory distinguishes among three types of environments. They are the imposed, selected, and created environments. The imposed environment impinges on people whether they like it or not, but people still have some leeway in how they construe it and react to it. For the most part, the environment is only a potentiality. It does not come into being until it is selected and activated by appropriate behavior. This is the selected lived environment. For example, college students inhabit the same campus, but they experience different lived environments depending on the courses they take, the extracurricular activities they engage in, and the circle of friends they cultivate. People also create environments that enable them to exercise better control over their lives. Higher levels of environmental changeability require increasing levels of personal agency. Our traditional psychological theories were formulated long before the revolutionary advances in communication technology. As a result, they focused mainly on learning by direct experience in one's immediate physical and social environment. In this electronic era, the nature and the environment has changed radically and altered the functional priority of different modes of learning. People are now spending most of their waking life in the symbolic environment of the cyber world. Life in the cyber world transcends time, distance, place, national borders, and alters our conception of them. Instant communication worldwide has transformed the nature, the reach, speed, and loci of human influence. Miniaturized wireless devices make the vast symbolic environment portable now, and people can take it with them and actualize it at any time, in any place. These evolving realities provide people with extensive opportunities to influence their self-development and shape the course that their lives take. Consider some examples. With the globalization of knowledge, students can take control over their own learning. With the fast pace of informational and technological change, work life changes rapidly, and workers can now upgrade their knowledge and skills online. By exercising control over a few health habits, people are living longer, healthier, and retarding the rate of biological aging. Through internet technology, people can participate directly in social and political matters and mobilize grassroots support for their causes. The internet is swift, wide-reaching, and enables users to bypass gatekeepers who command power. Direct experience is a pretty laborious and tough teacher. Fortunately, people have evolved an advanced capacity for observational learning through social modeling. It shortcuts this tedious process. The growing importance of the symbolic environment lies in its extraordinary scope. People can transcend their environment electronically and vastly expand the range of models. They are now modeling attitudes, values, and styles of behavior worldwide through the global media. For the first time in history, people worldwide watched on television the ouster of a repressive regime by massive civil resistance. And the power of overwhelming numbers could not be suppressed. The East Germans demolished the Berlin Wall and toppled the autocratic rulers. This dramatic success served as the model of political change. Mass civil resistance was quickly adopted by people in other Eastern European countries. They dislodged their oppressive rulers in Romania, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. Because of cultural differences, it required successful modeling of massive civil resistance to topple autocratic rulers in the Arab world. It triggered a revolutionary wave of political change called the Arab Spring. Tunisia became the model aided by the mobilizing power of online activism. Egypt follows suit, as did Yemen and other Arab countries. There's much utopian talk about the democratizing power of the social media. Dislodging despotic rulers liberates oppressed factions who then vie for power in the governance vacuum. Initial euphoria usually gives rise to disillusionment over the nature of the controversial changes in the aftermath and the slow pace of change. What is lacking are pro-social models on how to meld diverse self-interests into common cause for humane representative governance. In this era of globalization, life in the societies of today is increasingly shaped by transnational interdependencies. Transnational forces challenge the efficacy of national governments to control their own economic and national life. To regain national efficacy, nation-states are merging into larger regional units for greater bargaining leverage. The European Union is one such example. Other regional nations will be forced to unite into larger power blocks. Paradoxically, to gain international control, nations have to give up some of their autonomy and traditional ways of life. Virtually every aspect of everyday life attests to the growing primacy of human agency in this electronic era. And a theory of human agency is also befitting a psychology for the 21st century. There are two lines of theorizing that question the notion of human agency. And the first is physical eliminationism. Many neuroscientists argue that human behavior is regulated by neural networks beyond people's awareness and control. Attitudes, values, goals, beliefs, they argue, are the folk psychology of yesteryear. In this subpersonal view, humans are essentially conscious automatons, blissful in their illusionary control. This view casts the locus of control in the wrong terms at the wrong level of control. There's a difference between first-order control of the biological micromechanics and second-order control of subserving biological systems for desired purposes. For example, I can't tell my heart valves when to open and close and to contract the ventricles. First-order control would be a Herculean task given the intricate cardiovascular mechanics. But I do know what I need to do behaviorally in second-order control to get the heart to beat fast or slow and how to strengthen its capacity. To further illustrate the difference between these two levels of control, consider the following analogy. I have no awareness of the chemical combustion processes in an automobile engine, nor do I directly control the chemical reactions, but I know what to do behaviorally to get to where I want to go, to plan the best route cognitively, to decide what to take along, what to do when I get there, and to make reservations well in advance. And this involves a lot of proactive top-down cognitive regulation of diverse activities extended over a long time. Physical eliminationists are using the lack of first-order control of biological micromechanics to negate psychosocial theories which operate through second-order psychosocial control. Ethics is a very troublesome problem for the physical eliminationists. If neural networks are controlling people's behavior beyond their awareness or control, why should anyone ever be held responsible for their actions? Would such a view erode the ethical foundations of a civil society? We're currently witnessing a lot of biological reductionism. Knowing where things happen in the brain does not tell you how to make them happen. For example, knowing the locality and brain circuitry subserving learning can say little about how to devise learning conditions in terms of level of challenge, how to get people to study a subject matter, and whether learning is better achieved independently, cooperatively, or competitively. These factors have no conceptual counterpart in neurobiological theory, hence they are not derivable from biological theory. They are the principles of a psychological theory. Psychology is the only discipline that uniquely encompasses the complex interplay of intrapersonal, biological, interpersonal, and social structural determinants of human behavior. It is best suited to advance understanding of the integrated biopsychosocial nature of humans and how they manage and shape the world around them. Another line of theorizing that minimizes the agentic nature of humans is the facile geneticization of human behavior. Nature allegedly sets the limits, and nature can do only so much within those constraints. Human practices are now being widely proclaimed as driven by ancient biological drives. This view ignores the fact that in the course of evolution, people evolved into an agentic species equipped with language, advanced cognitive capacities, and wielding powerful technologies. We're witnessing the growing primacy of human agency in the co-evolution process. Through agentic inventiveness, humans transcend their biological limitations. We did not evolve morphologically to fly, but we are soaring through the air. We use our ingenuity to circumvent and insulate ourselves from selection pressures. We transcend time, place, and distance in the cyber world. There was no cyber world in Darwin's day. Contraceptive ingenuity disconnected sex from procreation. Reproduction technologies are separating sex from fertilization. Through genetic engineering, humans are creating biological natures for better or for worse. We are now changing the genetic makeup of plants and animals. Humans are not only cutting and splicing nature's genetic material, they are creating new genomes by synthetic biology. In short, we are an agentic species that is gaining ascendancy in the co-evolution process. Were Darwin writing today, he would be documenting the overwhelming human domination of the environment. We now have the capacity to destroy much of the earth by a nuclear exchange, but as the unrivaled ruling species at the top of the food chain, we're doing a pretty good job in destroying the planet gradually. Paul Watson was not far off the mark when he characterized the human species as an arrogant primate that is out of control. As Jay Gould notes, the major battle is not between nature and nurture, as commonly framed, but whether nature operates as a determinist that has culture on a tight leash or as a potentialist that has culture on a loose leash. Humans have created societies of diverse natures, aggressive and pacific ones, egalitarian and despotic ones, altruistic and selfish ones, individualistic and collectivistic ones, enlightened and backward ones. Evidence supports the potentialist view. The most telling evidence is the transformation of warring societies into pacific ones. The Swiss used to be the main suppliers of mercenary fighters in Europe, and as they changed to a Pacific society, their militaristic vestige is evident only in the plumage of the Vatican guards. For ages, the Vikings plundered other nations, and the victims prayed, "Save us, O Lord, from the fury of the Norsemen." After a prolonged war with Russia, the populace rose up and forced a constitutional change. It prohibited kings from starting wars. This political act transformed a warring society in a peaceful one. Sweden now is a mediator of peace among warring nations. Biological determinists convey a conservative view of society. It emphasizes the rule of nature, inherent constraints and limitations. Biological potentialists embrace a progressive view of society. This conception of nature offers a more expanded view of human possibilities. People have changed little genetically over the past millennium, but they have changed markedly in recent decades in their beliefs, mores, and social roles, in their cohabiting arrangements and family practices, and their styles of behavior. They have done so through rapid cultural and phenomenal technological evolution. In further development of the theory of human agency, I extend its self-regulatory aspect to moral agency. In the development of a moral self, individuals adopt standards of right and wrong that serve as guides and motivators of conduct. People do things that give them satisfaction and a sense of self-worth, and they refrain from behaving in ways that violate their moral standards because such conduct will bring self-condemnation, and self-sanctions keep conduct in line with internal standards. Most of the theorizing and research on morality focuses heavily on the acquisition of moral standards and moral reasoning, But this is only half the story and the less interesting half. Most inhumanities and illegalities are perpetrated by individuals who are considerate in other areas of their life. And the challenge is to explain how good people do harmful things and feel good about themselves. Adoption of moral standards does not create a constant regulator of conduct. People often face strong social and financial pressures to engage in harmful activities that compromise their moral standards. To perform these activities and live with themselves, people have to strip morality from their actions. The figure presents 8 psychosocial mechanisms by which people selectively disengage moral self-sanctions from harmful conduct. And these mechanisms operate at 4 sites in the process of moral control. 3 of the mechanisms operate at the behavioral locus. They turn harmful practices into benign or even moral ones. People sanctify harmful means by investing them with moral, social, and economic ends. Voltaire put it well when he said, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." Harmful behavior pales by advantageous comparison with more inhumane practices. Belief that one's harmful actions will prevent more human suffering than they cause make the behavior look altruistic. Sanitizing euphemisms serve as the Novocaine for the conscience. Civilian bombing deaths are linguistically sanitized as collateral damage. Convoluted language is also used to mask harmful activities. The military call them vertically deployed anti-personnel devices. We call them bombs. The 3 mechanisms at the behavioral locus are especially powerful because they serve a dual function. They engage morality in the harmful mission, but disengage morality in its execution. At the agency locus, people evade personal accountability by displacement and diffusion of responsibility, and this absolves them of blame for the harm they cause. At the outcome locus, perpetrators disregard, minimize, distort, or even dispute the injuries they cause. As long as harmful effects are out of sight and out of mind, there is no moral issue to contend with. In this electronic era, the battles over inhumanities are being fought in the airways and the internet. At the victim locus, perpetrators exclude those they maltreat from their category of humanity, and they do so by divesting them of human qualities or attributing bestial qualities to them, and they blame victims for bringing the maltreatment on themselves. In a forthcoming book on moral agency, I document the pervasiveness of moral disengagement at both the individual and social systems level. The social systems include the broadcast industry, the gun industry, the tobacco industry, the corporate world, the finance industry. As one of the traders in the global crisis put it, I leave my ethics at the door. Capital punishment, terrorism, counterterrorism, and environmental sustainability. This set of disengagement practices puts morality on hold. Good people in all walks of life are doing a lot of harmful things and feeling good about themselves. Social cognitive theory distinguishes among 3 modes of agency. They include individual, proxy, and collective agency. In personal agency exercised individually, people bring their influence to bear on events over which they have some control. In many spheres of life, people do not have direct control over conditions that affect their lives. they rely on proxy agency. They do so by influencing others who have the resources, the knowledge, the means to act on their behalf to get the outcomes they desire. Children turn to parents, marital partners to spouses, employees to their trade unions, and citizens to their representatives. People do not live in isolation. They have to work together to manage and improve their lives. They pool their knowledge, skills, and resources and act in concert to shape their future. Expanding the scope of agency adds to the generalizability of the theory to collectivistically oriented societies. The blend of individual, proxy, and collective agency varies cross-culturally, but one needs all forms of agency to make it through the day, regardless of where one lives. In evaluating the cross-cultural generalizability of a theory, one must distinguish between human capacities and how culture shapes these potentialities into diverse forms. For example, social modeling is essential for self-development and social functioning, regardless of the culture in which one lives. But what is modeled, by whom, what form, and for what purpose, again, varies cross-culturally. Resilient self-efficacy also has generalized functional value, regardless of the culture. Being immobilized by self-doubt and belief in the futility of effort has no adaptive value, but how efficacy beliefs are developed, the activities for which they are cultivated, and the purposes to which they are put vary cross-culturally. In short, there is commonality in basic agentic capacities, but diversity in how these inherent capacities are cultured. In this dual-level analysis, universality is not incompatible with manifest cultural plurality. The distinguished anthropologist Kluckholm summarized eloquently the blend of universality, commonality, and uniqueness of human qualities. Every person is, in certain respects, like all other people, like some other people, and like no other person. The cross-cultural generalizability of social cognitive theory has been stringently tested in global applications aimed at alleviating some of the most pressing social problems. The most urgent issues facing humankind in this century is the preservation of a sustainable environmental future. We're destroying ecological systems that have evolved over eons that keep our planet cool and habitable. And here is a short list of our ecological destruction: widespread deforestation, expanding desertification, topsoil erosion, sinking water tables, increasing loss of farmland, rising Earth's temperatures, ice sheet and glacial melting, flooding of low-lying regions, severe weather events, depletion of resources, ocean acidification, collapse of fish stocks, massive extinction of biodiversity. Environmental destruction is a product of the per capita consumption of resources times population size. Developed nations are stabilizing their population. Developing nations are doubling their population at a rapid pace. 80% of the conflicts are in countries with large youth populations that are uneducated, unemployed, living in poverty under autocratic rulers, plagued by corruption. On the consumption side, we are making token gestures rather than fundamental changes in the excessive lifestyles. We are responding to the ecological crisis like the guy who jumps off a tall building. And as he passes the 30th floor, he thinks to himself, so far, so good. In our global applications, we are using long-running serial dramas to alleviate societal problems and to improve the quality of people's lives. Now, these dramatic productions are not just fanciful stories. The plot lines portray people's everyday lives, the impediments they face, and they help people to see a better life and provide them with the skills and incentives that enable them to take the steps to realize their hopes. Hundreds of episodes over several years allow viewers to form bonds to these models, and viewers are inspired and enabled by them to improve their lives. Society-wide change requires 3 component models. The first is a theoretical model. It provides the guiding principles. The second is a translational and implementational model. It converts theoretical principles into fruitful practice. Miguel Sabito, a creative playwright and producer at Televisa in Mexico, developed the translational model based on our studies of social modeling. We often do not profit from our theoretical successes because we lack effective methods to disseminate proven psychosocial approaches. And the third component is a social diffusion model on how to promote adoption of psychosocial programs in diverse cultural milieus. And Population Media Center serves as the dissemination system worldwide. These are not programs focused on nations by outsiders. The serial dramas are created by invitation from countries seeking help. The Media Center works in partnership with the media personnel in the host countries to create a serial drama tailored to their culture and addresses their needs. Extensive cultural and value analyses are conducted before programs are developed and implemented. And this informative phase identifies problems of major concern and obstacles people face. The video clip illustrates the production process for the serial drama in Tanzania.
We do listen every week. Well, and if you look backwards, you find that the same thing they are talking there, you have it in your community. So it really educates and gives the example. When you settle down to think, are they talking the truth? You find, of course, they are talking the truth because you've got a kid like that.
One of the main reasons for PCI's success is its understanding of the needs of each area that it works in, with the production teams carrying out detailed research and having direct contact with the people and communities concerned. The methods used by PCI are influenced by the social learning theory developed at Stanford University by Professor Albert Bandura. It's in sessions like this that the real-life research that they've gathered is very carefully mixed into the imaginary world.
Make that crucial decision on whether she should get pregnant or not. Then we also have Mabuche and his drugs problems, and we want to be able to deal with that problem of drugs, okay? We have HIV, AIDS, we have a couple of people that are dying and so forth.
This then is how the stories begin and how they're developed. The production team bringing a diverse and impressive range of talents and experiences. Jumo Mrisho, for example, is not only an actor and writer, but a community development worker.
It's my area, and I must do as hard as possible to take the people out of this mess, or to let them know what they can do so as they can live the better life than as you see.
Dr. Kimani Njogu, accompanied by scriptwriter Herbert Makoya, travels in Tanzania to visit village communities. They drive south from Dar es Salaam to get reactions to the latest episodes of the series 20 Nawakati. This family turn out to be regular listeners.
It seems as if the program has been of tremendous assistance to this lady because she's learned a lot about HIV/AIDS, about family planning, about the importance of education. This type of dialogue that is initiated by the radio within families is life-saving. I mean, we are talking about HIV/AIDS, we are talking about the possibility of death.
PCI's work is really right at the heart of the future. And to think with just a few pennies, these messages can go out so far and so wide to so many people who deserve to have the information, to erase the inequities that come about through lack of knowledge.
A serial drama in Mexico was designed to promote national literacy, and this illustrates the model of social change. The government launched a national self-study program. Skilled readers were urged to organize small self-study groups to teach each others how to read. It was a good idea, but enlisted few takers. Failure to address the psychosocial determinants of human behavior is often the weakest link in social policy initiatives. Simply providing resources and ready access to them does not mean that people will take advantage of them. One must identify and remove the impediments to change and create the motivators for it. A prior survey identified 3 impediments to participation. Some believe that reading is learnable only when one is young, and they cannot learn as adults. Others believe that they lack the ability to master such a complicated skill, and still others felt that an educated person would be disinterested in devoting time to them. A popular star played the role of the literate person, and she persuades characters representing different segments of the population to join them in the self-study group. Diversity builds perceived similarity. They voice their self-doubts, the instructor corrects their misbeliefs, and persuades them that they have the ability to succeed. In the video clip, she reassures an elderly person that he will be accepted.
¿No estaré ya muy viejo? ¿Cree que me vayan a autorizar?
No sé cómo, don Mario, pero le juro que usted va a presentar su examen de educación primaria.
We also model how to manage discouraging experiences and setbacks. She accompanies him to the center to get his reading certificate. She asks an obnoxious guy where the certificates are issued, and he responds disparagingly.
Señor, perdón, ¿usted puede informarme en dónde se hacen los trámites para los exámenes de adultos?
¿Cuáles exámenes?
De primaria, de escuela primaria.
¿A poco quiere usted presentar examen de primaria?
No, no es para mí, señor, es para el señor.
¿Para el señor?
The programs included humor, conflict, engrossing discussions of subjects being read, and the episodes show the models initially struggling and then gaining mastery and self-pride in their accomplishments.
A continuación, vamos a proceder a la entrega de certificados. Don Mario, lo felicito sinceramente. Es usted un ejemplo para los adultos que desean estudiar. Lo felicito.
Enrollment in the National Self-Study Program was 90,000 in the year before the televised series, and about 1 million during the year of the series, and 400,000 in the year after the series. Applications of this scaled-up method of social change in Africa, Asia, and Latin America are raising literacy levels, enhancing the status of women in societies in which they are marginalized, disallowed aspirations, and denied their freedom and dignity. They are reducing unplanned childbearing to break the cycle of poverty and to stem the soaring population growth. They're curtailing the spread of the AIDS epidemic and promoting environmental conservation practices. There's much talk about environmental sustainability, but little explanation of what it means and the changes needed to realize it. The mounting ecological destruction indicates that the current rate of resource consumption and population size have already exceeded the Earth's carrying capacity. Even adoption of a zero growth in consumption and population would only stabilize the present level of unsustainability. Per capita consumption will rise as the Western high consumption lifestyle becomes more affordable for developing countries. Population will also continue to grow, albeit at a slower rate, for many years to come. We are substituting token gestures for fundamental lifestyle changes. And we have a very narrow window of opportunity, and this is closing fast to curtail the ecological destruction. And if we fail to do so, we will pass on to future generations a planet that is getting hotter, more crowded, less habitable, and poorer in resources. There is much that we do planfully to shape the course that lives take, but chance events often influence our life paths. Indeed, some of the most important determinants of life paths occur through the most trivial of circumstances. People often take on new activities, enter marital partnerships and occupational careers through happenstance. Consider an example. A book editor enters a hall that is rapidly filling up for a talk on the psychology of chance encounters and life paths. He seizes an empty chair near the entrance, and he ends up marrying the woman he happened to sit next to. With only a momentary change in the time of entry, seating arrangements would have changed and their lives would have taken entirely different courses. Psychology avoids chance like the plague. We're in the business of explaining, predicting, and modifying behavior, and chance is a troublesome nuisance. The challenge is to bring our science to bear on the fortuitous character of life. Now, most chance encounters leave us untouched, others leave some lasting effects, and still others branch us into new directions of life. The impact of chance intersects is predictable from the interaction of personal attributes and environmental characteristics. Now, chance does not mean uncontrollability of its effects, and there are two ways in which to capitalize on the fortuitous character of life. Make chance happen by pursuing an active life. Chance favors the inquisitive and venturesome. Go places, do things, and explore new ideas and activities, and this produces many encounters. You can also make chance work for you by cultivating your interests, affirmative self-beliefs, and competencies, and this enables you to make the most of opportunities that arise unexpectedly. As the philosopher Seneca put it, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The harder you work, the luckier you get. Pasteur put it similarly when he noted chance favors only the prepared mind. Even that distinguished lay philosopher Groucho Marx insightfully observed, you can influence how you play the hand that fortuity deals you. You have to be in the right place at the right time, but when it happens, you better have something on the ball. Self-development and active engagement in life give people a hand in shaping their destiny. So, as you develop and apply the knowledge of our field for the betterment of the human condition, may the efficacy force be with you. I thank you very much, and all good wishes in your pursuits.